the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. Last Sunday, at our picnic commemorating the 10th anniversary of the Great Flood, we were blessed with the drumming, singing, and storytelling of an indigenous neighbor from Siksika. His name is Clarence. He's also known as Skip, and he shared with us that his Blackfoot name means many names. And Clarence spoke to us about the importance of names in his culture. And as we had this gospel reading read with the names of the 12 disciples listed, I sort of realized in biblical storytelling, names are very important as well. So here we have this list of the 12 disciples, also called for the first time apostles. Apostle is a word meaning those who are sent out. Jesus sends them to carry on the kind of healing ministry that he's been doing. We have familiar names in that list of disciples. Simon, also called Peter, which means rock, and Jesus will later say to him, on this rock I will build my church. And we have James and John, the sons of Zebedee. We also have less familiar names like Thaddeus, Bartholomew, and of course the infamous Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. Many have noted through the years that in this list of 12, there's only men named. There aren't any women. Now, of course, we know there were women who were part of Jesus' entourage. We know some of them were his financial backers. We know it was women who were with him most closely at the crucifixion and then at the resurrection. Mary Magdalene being one of the prominent women in Jesus' group. There, at the resurrection, the first witnesses of the resurrection, the first apostles of the resurrection. Anna Case Winters, in her commentary on Matthew, points out that for the gospel writers, what seems most important in listing these names of disciples is not the gender, and is not even the individuals, because the Gospels actually disagree about who the 12 are. If you look closely there, the lists aren't exactly the same. But what's important is the number, 12. This is a reference to the 12 tribes of Israel, as if Jesus is reframing what it means to be the people of God. Well, even though Anna Case Winters says gender isn't the point of this particular bit of scripture, we have a long history of people in the church, men in the church, using a list like this to exclude women from ministry, and especially to exclude women from ordained ministry. And if you've been watching the news from down south this week, you wouldn't have missed that the Southern Baptist Convention has kicked out 5 of its churches for having women pastors. And 2 of those churches appealed, and at the SBC convention, it was brought to a vote, and it was a shocking majority voted in favor of the executive decision to kick these churches out of their denomination. Reverend Linda Barnes Popham and her congregation, Fern Creek Baptist Church in Kentucky, were kicked out, as was Saddleback Church in California. Saddleback, if you're not, you don't have any feelers into the evangelical world, this is one of the big, successful mega churches. Their founding pastor, Rick Warren, has written books that have gone platinum. That's what books go in the Christian world. It's a rock star church. They were kicked out. Now, for those particular congregations within that Baptist system, on a functional day-to-day level, no big deal. They can go on being an independent congregation, or they can join with a denomination that aligns with who they are, and not a big problem. But it would be dangerous to underestimate the hurt and the damage that was done by this decision. The Southern Baptist Convention is the largest Protestant church in the United States. So we can't underestimate the hurt that it causes to pastors like Linda Barnes Popham, who had been an ordained pastor in the Southern Baptist Convention for 30 years before before they decided to kick her and her church out. We can't underestimate the hurt that it causes to young women of any age, who feel a call to ministry, and whose churches say to them, "No, we don't have a place for you." And we can't underestimate the hurt that it causes to a church that refuses to receive the wonderful gifts of women, to receive the wonderful ministry that these women have to offer. Jesus says, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few." The church isn't helping itself out there. Names are very important, so please permit me to name some of the women whose ministry has really left a mark on my life. Women lay and ordained who have shaped me as a person and as a pastor. The Reverend Dr. Joyce Peasgood, my academic advisor during my undergrad, who introduced me to the contemplative and mystical tradition of the Christian faith, who continues to be my spiritual director, and who I have the pleasure of co-teaching with when I go out to the Baptist camp this summer to teach a bunch of 16-year-olds about prayer and spirituality. The Reverend Dr. Judy Paulson, advisor and teacher at Wycliffe Seminary, who taught me so much about the spirituality of organizational leadership. Dr. Marion Taylor, professor of Old Testament studies, who imparted to me a love of the biblical narrative, and especially the Old Testament, and who always said in her class, and she always said to preachers especially, "Stop preaching on the Gospels so much. Everyone always preaches on the Gospels. It gets boring after a while. Preach on the Old Testament, that's fun." It doesn't look like it today when you look up into the chancel and see Mac and Bob and me and Adam, who's not gallivanting off to Israel. But we do have a very rich heritage of women in ordained ministry here at Christ Church. We've had wonderful women assistant priests at Christ Church. I think of Tara Livingston. And of course, as we're 10 years out from the flood, there's so many memories of her wonderful ministry here during that time, ministry to our parishioners and to our community. Or the Reverend Chrissy Bird, who started out here as an assistant, as a curate, and has gone on to have a very successful career as a parish priest here in Calgary and doing a lot of discernment and training work with people going into the ministry and just starting out in ordained ministry. And she was a great help to me through that process. Anna Greenwood Lee, the Right Reverend Anna Greenwood Lee, now Bishop of the Diocese of British Columbia, was an assistant here. And of course, our rector here, Ansley Tucker, the now retired, very reverend Dean of the Cathedral in Victoria. These women who have made a profound impact on our community, whose ministry and heritage we celebrate with much gratitude. Names are important. And this morning we are baptizing a young man by the name of Theodore. Theodore means a gift from God. God's gift. Theodore, you are God's gift. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. What a perfect name. I think we are all Theodores and Theodoras. We are all God's gift. Each one here is a gift and is giving gifts to offer to the church and to the world. And so I say this to everyone, and today especially to women. You are God's gift. You are God's gift to the church and to the world. A Theodora. Thanks be to God.